Serwin here from Pink Buckaroo Designs, and today I'm going to show you a fun summer project that I've come up with. These were born kind of out of a funny little story. My family and I recently traveled from South Texas to Florida, so we made a lot of gas station stops along the way, and I kept seeing in these gas stations pineapple gum by Trident. And of course I was like, oh my gosh, we have 2 pineapple stamps, I have to do something with that. So fast forward a week, I'm back home and I can't find the gum at the grocery store, and I really don't want to run around to gas stations, so I just ordered a bunch of them off Amazon. So if you're looking for them, you can order them from Amazon, or you might find them in your local gas station. So as you can see, it fits down in this little holder, and this part right here slides off. And I'm going to show you how to make these. You're going to start out with a piece of Daffodil Delight that is 5 3/4 by 4 3/8. And on this long side, you're going to score it at 1 5/8, 2 1/8, 3 3/4, and 4 1/4. Don't worry, these are listed on my blog, so hop back over if you need the measurements again. On the shorter side, you're going to score it at 5/8 and 4 inches. Grab your scissors, and over here you'll see that this one side is just a tad bit shorter than the other, and you can see it just by looking at it. That's because I wanted that flap to just not completely go all the way. So on that side, I am going to trim off these tabs right here on this end. The long one and the short one. Then I'm going to go and snap the little score lines. Just cut them in a little bit like that. And I'm also going to cut off these corners. This just helps the box go together a little bit better. Sometimes my score lines aren't exactly how they should be, so then I have a tiny sliver of cardstock sticking up. So I found if I trim the corners off, I don't have that problem. Alright, so let's fold in all of our score lines, burnish them nicely. Alright, now you want to make sure that you're going to use fast fuse on this or tear and tape. Snail will not cut it, so you've got to use a really strong adhesive. I'm going to fold these little tabs in like this, and I'm going to put some fast fuse on that side of them. Don't get it on the inside like I did. Let's see, come on fast fuse. I'm a little shaky from my morning workout. I think that's a problem this morning. All right, so we put it on the outside of those tabs. We're gonna put it on the inside of these tabs. Now the one tab that I didn't put any adhesive on, I'm gonna fold that over the little tab right there. And fold this one over this little tab right there. Okay, now I'm going to take these 2 and put them around the outside. Just like that. So there we have the box. All right, now to make it sturdy for the next part, I'm going to go ahead and put my gum in. Wrap that closed, and you're going to take a 1.5 by 5.5 inch piece of craft cardstock, and we're going to make the slider for this. Now I want to take it and wrap it around. I'm not scoring this. I'm just going to wrap it and crease those little guys in. Don't adhere it to the box because you want it to slide off. Like that. All right, now let's do the little, I don't know, swirls, I guess is what you call it. I wanted this to kind of have a vintage feel, kind of tropical. So I pulled out the Swirly Birds long thinlet that looks like this, and we're going to cut it out of craft cardstock again. If you haven't already, I encourage you to invest in the new platform for the Big Shot. It is, how it was explained to us is that it is raised a little bit in the middle so that you're going to get a perfect cut whether you, whoops, let me put this down, whether you get whether you put your thin lid on the outside, because usually the Big Shot would squeeze harder on the outside edges so you'd get a better cut. But now it doesn't really matter. You can put that anywhere because the platform is raised up a little bit in the middle to make you get an even cut all the way around. And I can testify that this platform has been cutting beautifully for me. All right, so you want to get all of these out, and the best way to do that is to use your die brush. Get all those little pieces out, and then carefully pull this guy out. This little die brush gets into the little holes in the thin lid that you can see and helps kind of get it started, pushes those out. Now, because this is so thin, probably the best adhesive would be to use a fine tip glue pen. I've told you before, I'm very messy with this, and I did use it to make the other ones, but it takes a while to dry. So this morning, I am going to just use a little bit of fast fuse, very carefully, and I'm going to stick it down that way. Now sometimes it gets stuck in between, so I'm going to kind of clean it off. And we're going to put that on the lid, on the flap that flaps over. Cut off the extras. If you look at the back side, you can see exactly where you're cutting. All right, now let's get this belly band on there. You could go back, probably would be a good idea to stick the ends down with that fine tip glue. The next thing you're going to do is to take some of our linen thread, and I am going to wrap it around several times. You could also pull strands out of your burlap ribbon for this. It would work nicely as well. And I'm going to tie it up at the top, but not tie a bow yet. I'm going to leave it just like that, and you'll see why in just a minute. All right, let's make our tag. The stamp set I'm using is Papa Paradise. This has been an extremely popular stamp set, and if you haven't gotten it yet, I highly recommend it. It is a really good set for the summer. I'm going to use the pineapple right here, and I'm using watercolor paper as well as Stampin' Write markers. I'm using our new Emerald Envy and Soft Suede colors. I wanted to give this kind of a watercolor feel. I knew the theme that I wanted to go with was vintage looking pineapples. So I did a quick Pinterest search of vintage pineapples, came up with all kinds of things, but the ones I liked the most were the ones that were kind of messy. So I decided to do a little watercolor wash on these. So I'm coloring it in with my Stampin' Write markers, just color right on to the rubber, give it a little puff of air, and stamp right there. All right, now to give it that kind of fuzzy look, I'm going to take an aqua painter, get my tip wet, and I'm just going to kind of blur those colors together. Give it kind of a washed look. And what I did find is that if you feel like some of the color gets washed out, take that marker and add in just a little bit of color, and the water will turn that color. Just like that. All right, clean off your aqua painter. Get it a little bit wet, squeezing that water down, but not too much. And start up here with a green. Be careful up here at the top because it does get kind of messy, and I didn't want it to be too messy. All right, now I'm gonna let that dry and I'll come back and show you the rest. All right, now that it's dry, you can see that I have a nice washed out look. I'm gonna take some Daffodil Delight ink, and I'm going to do some splatters. It wasn't quite messy enough for me, so I thought let's add some splatters. I'm putting a little bit of ink down on my lid after I squeezed it and put ink there. You can also do the same thing by taking a clear block, dabbing it on your ink, and turning it over and putting water on there if you don't like that messy look. Doesn't bother me too much. Now I'm going to take the tip of my finger and just splatter until I feel like we're messy enough. Now, don't do this before your pineapple is dry because those colors will run together. All All right, I'm going to come back when it's dry again. All right, we're nice and dry. I love it. It looks messy and vintage and old, which was the look I was going for. So I'm going to punch it out with my 2-inch circle punch. And then I'm going to take my smallest, I believe it's a 16th inch, I'll list it in the supplies on my blog, hole punch. And I'm going to punch a hole right there at the top. Now remember back over here when I didn't tie a bow yet? That's because I wanted to go through this tiny little hole, if I can see it, there we go, and finish it off with a bow. Now remember, I tied a knot there, so I don't have to worry about it coming undone. So I'm going to tie a bow, just like that. Now you can leave it kind of loose like that, but I don't like that. I'm worried it's going to get ripped or something. So I'm putting a dimensional right underneath and putting it down like that. All right, so there's that part. Now, the last thing we need is a sentiment. So I am using this thank you banner from the same set. I'm going to stamp it in soft suede on the rest of this craft cardstock that I have. And I'm just going to trim out a little bit of it. Let's move that ink just in case. I'm going to go around this edge right here. I didn't want to have to trim all those curly Q parts of the ribbon, so I decided to just shorten it down a little bit. And I'm just going to cut around this part and use a dimensional. And stick it down right on top of my pineapple. And there you have it. A fun summer thank you. Would be good for a summer party, a luau party, or even for just a neighbor. I am going to give these to some people who helped me recently do some things here at the house. All right, thank you. Hop back to my blog. Make sure you check it out for the specific dimensions and the supplies, and let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day. Bye-bye.